Yes, good morning or good afternoon. Let's see. So I work in the program management office. I'm a contractor. I work for REI Systems. They're one of the folks that sponsored this conference. But essentially, I'm supporting Carlos and his team essentially full time. So you've seen a version of this slide earlier this morning when Jen presented. And the reason I show it because it signifies or shows you where post-phase 2 opportunities occur. First of all, the phase 1, the idea generation, and the phase 2 are our flagship programs. And again, repeat, the phase 1's $125K for 6 months, for SBR and SCR 13 months. The phase 2 is a prototype development, and it's for $750,000 and 24 months. And I always tell people who have phase 2 contracts, you got the brass ring now. Because if you do well in your phase 2, our office has many other opportunities for you for funding, both for commercialization and for TRL advancement, and hopefully for the technology being infused in some NASA mission. The first one is phase 2E. First of all, every phase 2 contract has written in it an option that you can apply for phase 2E. It's a proposal process. If you're successful, you need to get an outside investor, and our office, or PMO, will match dollar per dollar up to $375,000. The period of performance is 6 to 12 months. And I'll talk more about phase 2 in later slides. Another opportunity is sequential phase 2. We started a pilot program last year in FY19, 2019. We focused on STTR. This is a program where the phase 2 company is invited to submit a phase 2, a sequential phase 2 proposal. It's essentially a second phase 2. And the purpose for the sequential is the advancement of TRL value, and particularly for infusion for NASA. And the third opportunity is CCRPP, and I'll have more slides on this. This is congressionally mandated. This is our fourth year, was FY 2019 last year. And again, it requires matching funding from $500K to $1 million, and the period of performance is 24 months. So again, this sort of highlights that we're trying to advance the technology. That's the objective written in our site. And for this phase 2E option, you need to go out and get outside investment. And I'll give you a few hints as I go along through my talk. As soon as you, in your contract, maybe by month 10 of the contract, start talking to your core. Hopefully you just talk to them sooner. But talk to your core about a couple things. One is your desire to proceed with a phase 2E option. And ask them if there are other sources within NASA that may have funding for this particular technology. Most of the cores are pretty well tied into other places within NASA. And the reason why you want to go at least try this scenario is that nearly 50% of the investors come from NASA programs. So it makes sense for you to start finding out where that money is, and you can start looking and lobbying for it. So the investors include, as I said, NASA programs, other external investors, government agencies, other government agencies, private sector, that includes companies and VCs. The mix of investors, the mix is approximately 50%, as I mentioned, NASA, non-SBIR NASA programs, about 35% from industry or VCs, and the remaining is other federal agencies. So we've been very successful in getting other commercial sources of funding. Now, this slide shows you the minimum for funding required is $25,000. In your shoes, I wouldn't bother. You want to go and get more money than that. You're not trying hard enough, so try harder. Get more. Get up to $375,000. We'll match it dollar for about a dollar. Let's see. The window to submit a phase 2 proposal starts at month 12 and ends 2 months prior to the expiration of your contract. So you got a 10-month window. And the duration of this is 6 to 12 months. So think about it. If you get 375 plus 335, 750, and you have a 12-month period of performance, you're working twice as hard and fast. You got a twice as hard burn rate. So it is an aggressive schedule as well as project, phase 2E project. This has been a very successful program for an SSBR. It started in 2007. We have more than 300 awards over that time frame, but we still would like to see more Phase 2 companies participate in this program, so I encourage you. Let's see, some other tips I want to give you. When you decide to write a Phase 2E proposal, talk to your core, share with him your statement of work. Get his buy-in, or at least get his feedback, because he's going to help you structure it so that it'll be useful for NASA Infusion. The other thing is, read the instructions on our NASA SBIR homepage. And I have these problems all the time, so I want to at least share with you some of my experiences. Get the letter of commitment. We've got a template there, so you can follow how the letter is structured and have your investor follow. You can have more than one investor. I've had as many as 6 or 7 on one Phase 2E proposal. The instructions, you'll have to prepare a statement of work, which is essentially a tech proposal statement of work, a technical brief summary, which is a quad chart, a commercialization plan, and of course, a letter of commitment. The commercialization plan, read the instructions and try to follow the instructions. That's very important for the whole proposal package. Anything else I have to say to you? In some situations, I've gotten a proposal back, the Corps reviewed it, and he found it very unsatisfactory. I've asked the Corps, what is the problem? Well, the company didn't do this or didn't, well, let's go back and talk to the company. So we go back and talk to the company, and we restructure the statement of work, we're fine. Okay, 5 minutes, thank you. So, as I said, develop that relationship with your Corps, work with them. CCRPP, this is mandated by Congress. We've started this, we've had it in 2017, 2019, and we just, as you know, we just opened up for 2020 fiscal year. This purpose of this is really commercialization. You need to get outside funding. It could be NASA, non-SBIR funding, industry, other federal agencies, very much like Phase 2E. But who can apply? Well, we designate a window, and for this year, it's any company who completed a Phase 2 contract from program year 2010 to 2015. We've opened up both for NASA Phase 2 contracts as well as other federal agencies. There is a condition. If you do have a Phase 2 contract and you want to apply, you cannot have received a prior CCRPP award. It's between $500,000 as the minimum, and the max is $1 million. NASA SBIR program will match dollar per dollar. As I said, the call opened up on November 4th. It closes December 16th. You can go on our NASA SBIR homepage and you can read not only the description, but also provides more detailed instructions how to submit it. And again, I just talked to another gentleman this morning. Talk to your Corps. Tell them you want to apply for CCRPP. Have them look at your statement of work, or at least talk to them what you have in mind. Okay, sequential. Well, last year we did a pilot of sequential. This is something new for us. It essentially, if you think about it, it's a second Phase 2. In fact, you can have more than one sequential if you've got well, we haven't come to that case, so don't worry about it. So the Phase 2 sequential program, right there, allows a Phase 2 awardee to receive one additional Phase 2 award to continue the work. These can be awarded to any firm who has had an existing Phase 2 award for a logical continuation of the Phase 2 work. Again, we did a pilot program in FY 2019. It was primarily for STTR's Phase 2s. It was invitation only, so that meant the Corps or the technologists in NASA identified these companies with Phase 2 contracts, that these were technologies they would want to see funded for advancement of TRL value. And we're in the process of designing a process for FY 2020, which include both SBIR and STTR. Now Phase 3. There are 2 things I think that really come out of the SBIR program. One, Carlos just mentioned, data rights. You folks understand that having rights to the IP of the technology you're developing, you're able to protect for at least 4 years from the last signature of a contract you sign. And that means a lot if you're going out to raise funding for VCs, because you start with all the rights to yourself. Congress just passed a law where they're going to extend that 4 years to 20 years. So we may be making changes in the near future. So that's a tremendous advantage. The 4 years protection gives you protection that no one can file patent on that technology for 4 years. It comes to 4 years and 1 day and you haven't filed a patent, well, NASA could file a patent, so if they want. So the other advantage of phase 3 is that this is a vehicle where you can use to do contracting to both NASA and other federal agencies. And it's got some amazing features, which I've got on the next slide. You're still accorded all SBIR data rights. There's no further competition after a phase 1 or phase 2. There's no limit on the number, duration, type, or dollar value. There's no limit on the time that may elapse between a phase 1 or a phase 2 and a phase 3. You could do a phase 3 once when you only have a phase 1. And it's nice because like it's sole source. If you're talking to another agency and you've got a technology where your phase 2 technology or phase 1 technology is something that other federal agency would like to fund for further development, you can immediately use a phase 3 to get a contract on a place. I think I already mentioned that. The federal agency may enter into a phase 3 contract at any time with a phase 1 or a phase 2 awardee. And the small business size limits for phase 1 and phase 2 awards do not apply to phase 3. So you can be a very large company, but you have phase 3 rights. That is worth having, coming from the contractor world.
The phase 2E and a CCRPP, the big things to me from a business standpoint are that, as Bill went over, anyone who's not applying for those, in my mind, from a business perspective, is leaving money on the table. It's only a 5-page application with the commercial plan to get that. It's an option in every contract. So you're getting near the end of the year and fiscal year, people have money to spend or they don't have enough money to complete a project. It's a pretty easy sell to say, you like to continue or buy down the risk on this project, I have a way that we can match the money and make it go further, whether that be within NASA or an investor. If it's an outside investor, it's saying, I have a way to buy down your risk and NASA's going to invest in already on this proven technology. I have a customer lined up. So they're really advantageous. The CCRPP does the advantages of the phase 2, but lets you reach back to previous SBIRs and with a greater dollar value. So you definitely want to look at those. And as Jen explained to and Bill over the phase 3s, not only there's a competition, justification, other full and open competition, you might hear your CEOs use JOFOC, isn't required, but that also means you're also, like right now, we have Artemis and other critical missions coming up. There's a lot of other missions going on. If you have SBIR technology that fits that, most procurements are fairly large, take a year plus to do. If you're coming in and you can offer that, well, we can do this, and it's a phase 3, they don't have to advertise it. There's 45 to 60 days. They don't have to create a solicitation. There's another. You can cut off their procurement cycle when you're selling this to a program manager, almost 8 months right off the top. So it's a huge selling event. And indeed, we've had very large SBIRs as well as other agencies done it. So there are things that you want to really be aware of working with your cores of how you can leverage each of these programs to really bring more money in to commercialize your product. Why don't you take some questions, Bill?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jeffrey Apeldoorn from Astrobotic. So earlier we were mentioning about the sequential phase 2, that you can do it after a phase 2. Is there also a possibility if you have a phase 2 extended, so E, and then do a phase 2
You can. What I tell the customers is, you can do a phase 2E, you can do a CCRPP, you can do a sequential. As long as the statement of works don't override each other, because we can't, NASA doesn't want to pay for double for the same type of work. You got to make sure the statement of works are different. That's all. So, for example, your phase 2 technology is there's a rocket engine of some sort, and it's a baseline technology, and you decide in a phase 2E to do more testing, but now you want to do CCRPP, but do some adjustment of the nozzle of that rocket engine technology. Well, that's valid because you're using the baseline phase 2 technology to jump forward the technology level of the technology overall.